Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to the Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras, in the state known by Free America as California. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
Nope, my name is Mike Piwowarski. I am coming to you live from the East Coast, east of the Appalachians, right down here in the Appalachians. So on the East Coast, I am the co-host from the East Coast. That's the coast with the most, from the co-host with the most. Here on the Rundown, we promise to bring you two-way views of conservative news. Welcome to Gun Day Monday.
It is Gun Day Monday. So just so you all know, we are working with a good friend of ours to develop a theme song for Monday, and I think that when it's all said and done, I think y'all are going to be quite impressed.
I mean, this is going to be like Gilligan's Island quality. You're going to love it. You're going to sing along to it. It's
Yes,
going to be
most
awesome.
definitely, most definitely. Before we get into the program, please make sure if you are watching us, however you are watching us, if you're watching us on YouTube, if you're watching us on Facebook, if you're watching us on Rumble, please take a moment. Share, like and share, like and share. Let your friends know what you're doing right now so that they can partake in all of the fun. And for those of you who are watching on OpsLens, if you're on the OpsLens app, hey, you can reach out to us as well. So please make sure, communicate, let your friends know that this, right now, this is the place to be.
Yeah, it is the place. It's the perfect place to be. I watched some of the OpLens this weekend. Great stuff, great things. And except I realize I've got to change my camera colors. I don't know what the hell's going on here with this today. So,
Well, you're looking mighty pretty on my end. So especially the I'm digging the Ukrainian or the Russian tracksuit.
yeah, man, I figure if we're gonna be talking about some more Eastern European, kind of stuff, I'm gonna wear the tracksuit one more time.
You look
Get some
like you are
get some
ready to
miles
head
out
over
of it.
to Ukraine to get yourself a free automatic weapon.
Oh, listen, the body armor is right behind me. I got my gold necklace ready to put on. We can go, and I'm ready. You
Special
should smell
deal
it in here
just for
too.
you. Okay,
Yeah, you should smell
AK-47,
the
please.
you should smell the cologne in this room right now.
We give
Oh
you
boy,
300 round. Special
you
deal
get
just for you.
you like a rifle like you.
You like rifle like you, make special deal.
Make
Yeah,
a
folks, we're
special
going to
deal.
talk. It's going to be all about Ukraine today, and it's going to be, I think one of the reasons why I think we wanted to talk about it was just because how things can change over a weekend, eh, Mike?
Yeah, right.
I mean, who would have
Things.
thought that Ukraine would actually, I don't know, still be here, come Monday?
Well, listen. This is what we talked about Friday when we did talk about it, about the tactics of this. Putin has gauged this and figured out that if he continues to do this, military fight, all he's doing right now is going out and attacking military targets for the most part. If there's civilian targets that are inflicting damage on them, he's taking them out. But he's not going through and wholesale destroying, every object and every building and every car in the way, because honestly, the infrastructure means nothing to him. He wants the natural resources, so he could wipe it clean. But if you wipe it clean and start to deter civilians, all of the fence sitters around the world, United States included, would then be forced to take more action. But as it is now, it's almost like an internal government civil war fight between one faction of the military versus another faction of the military. So the rest of the world gets to sit back on their hands right now and go, well, it looks like it might be internal. We'll just let them deal with it. So he knows what he's doing.
Well, I think one of the things that changed the tide in a lot of people's eyes was, when they had, I was listening with, evidently they had a meeting with a bunch of world leaders and they were all on Zoom, and Zelensky was basically telling them, look, you guys, we need your help. We need you to help us. And then at the very end, he was like, this may be the last time that you see me alive. And the whole point being was that, look, their goal is to take out the government is what his real goal is. Putin's real goal is, and replace it with a puppet government so that they can then control Ukraine. They went as far as sending out a bunch of false news, a bunch of false, misleading propaganda, trying to make it sound like Zelensky had fled Ukraine, and that he was trying to encourage his soldiers to lay down their arms, and that just wasn't the case. In fact, when offered by the president of the United States, President Biden, to be evacuated, Zelensky responded, "Look, hey, I don't need ammunition. I mean, I don't need a ride. I need ammunition, dude. Send me some ammo." And I just think that the spirit that the Ukrainian people are showing as they're fighting back has inspired many across the world. I mean, even Germany, who was, as of Friday, they weren't in favor of using SWIFT, which is the bank kicking banks out, Russian banks out of SWIFT. They've now changed their position on that. They weren't for giving or sending weapons to Ukraine, and they're now doing that. I still don't think that enough is happening, but even they're doing something now.
Yeah, and again, I think now they know who they're supporting, right? Listen, if Germany had to sit back 3 days ago, they didn't know who to send, firearms to. The military should be able to defend themselves. But what's going on now is you have the nationwide draft is going on. Anybody from 17 to 60 or 65, I forget what it is being drafted into their military. So they need the rifles to give to them. So every citizen has basically become the military. They were the militia according to their documentation, to their version of the Constitution. Well, now they're in the active military. So they needed the weapons to do that. Before it would have been Germany sending guns to citizens. That's kind of how things like that's a CIA style operation, right? Where we fund the peasants. Well, they're no longer the peasants; they are now the military. So Germany's now supporting a military as opposed to a bunch of just civilian rebels.
Right. Well, but once again, they've also put a delay on the pipeline, which is kind of interesting.
Yes.
Although here's the interesting part: we're still purchasing oil from Russia.
Of course
right.
we are.
Germany's not, but we are.
Do you really think that we're not going to? Listen, I mean, I'm surprised that we don't have Hunter Biden over there doing interviews, as an ambassador or something like that.
Right. Well, there you go. Well, there's a certain level of hypocrisy, and I think in some cases, you're seeing Democrats or liberals step up and be like, "Look, we need to be doing the right thing." But then you've got other cases where you've got like Joy Behar. Did you hear what she said on The View?
I know it was idiotness because that's what she's good for, and I did hear what she said. So let's go ahead and share this.
Let's go ahead. You guys got to hear this.
Estimates are 50,000 Ukrainians will be dead or wounded, and that this is going to start a humanitarian crisis, a refugee crisis in Europe. We're talking about 5 million people that are going to be displaced. I mean, it's heartbreaking to hear what is going to happen.
Well, I'm scared of what's going to happen in Western Europe, too.
Yeah.
You plan a trip, you want to go there. I want to go to Italy for 4 years. I haven't been able to make it because of the pandemic. And now this, it's like, what's going to happen there?
Yeah.
Dude, she's upset because she wanted to go to Italy. And I mean, here's the thing. I get that, okay, you were probably planning on going to Europe, and that may have been a thought somewhere in your mind, but they went from a refugee crisis, tens of thousands of people dying, a millions refugee crisis to, well, my European vacation has been ruined.
Yeah, she's an idiot. She's just there's really no other word for it. She said it without even realizing what she was saying. She was more worried about her inconvenience, to going on vacation. It reminds me, Craig, when I was on active duty with the military, every 3 years you would go to a major training center. You'd plan up for it for 6 months to a year, and you'd go there for 2 weeks to a month and just have, the most efficient, war training and maneuvers you could ever do. Well, when we finally got orders to go to Afghanistan to go to war, I remember some of the bosses complaining that, man, this ruins our training schedule. We really wanted to go to this training place, but now we got to go to war instead.
Oh, Lord. Well, anyway, folks, the good thing is Ukraine is still fighting. Now, let's just be honest. I am under no illusion that, the reality is that when it comes to as a military force, Russia has used a fraction of the military resources that they have available to put into this. And the question is only going to be this: is are they going to fully commit to what it would actually take for them to fully take over Ukraine and the level of destruction that it would take? Or is the world pressure on them going to cause them to relent? And those are the two questions, because the ruble fell. I mean, with all of the sanctions that have been put on them, the ruble fell like 20 to 25% at the opening today. So they're
Right.
the ruble is worth less than a penny now. So I mean, there's a lot of
Greg,
economic pressure that is being placed on Russia. Now the problem is the people are going to feel that, not necessarily the people making the decisions. The other
exactly.
question,
I mean,
and so the question
look,
now is going to be, is that going to cause them to speed up what they're going to do so that they can take over Ukraine? Because I don't think Ukraine in and of itself has the resources to be able to fully fight this off, at least not right now.
here's and we've got to remember to play the long ball, to play chess and not play checkers on this.
Right.
There's no way Putin has gone into this without an incredible amount of preparation, that he knows that if the rest of the world locked him off and shut down every water and oil pipeline leading into Russia, that he couldn't survive for the next 10 to 20 years. He knows that. Right? That's what the Russians have done since they started shutting things down in 1922. They know exactly how long they can last based on the natural resources they have. He doesn't care a crap about the value of the ruble, because guess what? Inside his country, they control all assets. They control all supplies. It means nothing to them, the ruble. We saw this, right? How many times you got to stand in a bread line or see lines of bread line with buckets full of paper money? It doesn't mean anything to them. They know they have the resources to sustain themselves if the rest of the world shuts them off. He's also playing, like I said, very efficient tactical baseball at this time, or football, whatever you want to call it. He is going in there and doing just a little at a time, knowing he could crush the Ukraine right now. But if he crushes the Ukraine right now, he draws the ire of the world. So he continues to play small ball, all right?
Right.
A little bit, just a little bit at a time. He can gain entire control of this country, and it doesn't matter to him, Craig, if it takes 2 weeks or 2 years. He's going to do it.
I just want to chime in. This is a little of a side note. It's funny to watch Democrats talk about, oh, how dare these people praise Putin? I'm like, all I've seen Trump say that Putin was smart. I saw Mike Pompeo say that Putin is smart. How is that? I mean, that's not like lifting up. That's not saying he's a moral man. It's not saying he's a good man. It's not saying that he's right in what he's doing. It's simply saying he's no dummy. So let's not treat him like he's a dummy.
Right.
Right. Now there is one resource, Mike, that I don't know that they include that they thought about when they were planning the takeover of Ukraine, and that is the loss of Pornhub. In case you did not know, many of you may not know, Pornhub, which is actually one of the largest sites in the world, is known for pornography. Well, they have blocked all Russian users. So whenever it comes up, there's just a flag of the Ukrainian flag comes up, and it's basically them showing their support for Ukraine. So there is absolutely no access to Pornhub for those who live in Russia. I'm pointing that out, Mike, only to point out that this is one example of an attempt by the world to really kind of get behind Ukraine, and how united people seem to be in terms of trying to force Russia to back off.
Or is it beautiful marketing by Pornhub to gain international acceptance? Because if you remember during when the COVID started, the story that we did back then was that Pornhub turned off their, Premier Access or whatever it was, and everybody could access it to gain again more acceptance from those around the world. So here they are again. Listen, they're trying to become more mainstream, and this is how they do it. They're doing these great acts of, listen, you're against Russia, we're against Russia. So here you go. So this is, I think, Pornhub's way of, listen, they're obviously anti-Russian invasion of the Ukraine, so why not get a little publicity out of it as well? So I mean, well, hats off to them.
Here's another question, Mike. I wonder if Russia retaliates and pulls all of their Russian porn off of Pornhub.
Listen, Craig, if they took all of the porn off the internet, right, there'd only be one website left, and it would be called "Bring Back the Porn." Okay, because that's
Yeah, I remember that joke. I remember that joke.
I think if Pornhub disappeared, there'd be alternatives. I think everybody would be all right. So,
It's crazy how big of an industry that has made. I mean, how that industry has made the internet to a large degree what it is. But I digress. Once again, though, marketing tool, schmarketing tool. If that's what it is, then that's what it is. I just think that seems to be a united. I don't want to say a totally united front, but there seems to be a lot of support around the world for the Ukrainian people.
right, but it's from things like this, right? How come we're not seeing? If you really want to see it, how come we don't see, like Apple shutting down their servers for websites in Russia? How come we're not seeing those type of industries? How come McDonald's and everybody else that has restaurants over there is not shutting everything down?
Well,
you
hey,
really
you
want to
did
see
see
that kind of
Elon Musk put the SpaceX satellite so that people in Ukraine could have access to the internet.
That's great. All they have to do now is get a FedEx delivery with the receiver so they can actually use it.
Well, that's to say they didn't already have it. I mean, look, you can't expect everything from everybody in week one. Let's
Right.
see how this support keeps up. Let's see what it actually turns into when people actually have time to actually show that level of support.
But this should have been done, right? This should have been Microsoft, boom, everything's turned off. Google, boom, everything's turned off. Apple, boom, everything's turned off. You really want to shut them down, make their laptops bricks, okay? That's how they communicate, just like everybody else.
Well, and by the way, that is actually a tool or a resource that has been available, or so we that has been offered to President Biden as a way in which to fight back against Russia. The concern is that their hackers may be as good, if not better, than ours, and we may actually see a cyber attack on us. Now, that's, by the way, is the other thing that came out just over the weekend, was that it's been deemed that a cyber attack on a NATO nation is actually going to be considered an actual attack, a violation of, I think it's called Section 5, where attack on one is an attack on all. So that would actually be seen as a military attack, which means that then all of NATO, which mainly means us, would be able to then step up and take action against Russia. It would be considered an act of war against the United States.
Yeah, but if these are private corporations that are multinational, then how can it be by the United States? And I get it. It's all interpretation. It's all how you sell it. But here's what I saw. It said, we don't see today. How about private American companies shutting off their services in Russia? Google, Amazon Pay, Apple, PayPal, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Microsoft, Xbox, Netflix. But they'll deplatform us for our dangerous opinions anytime, right?
Oh no. By the way, I completely agree. Don't get me wrong. I think while there's a lot of individual support, corporate America to a large degree is all about the green and not about freedom or liberty. Yeah. And what they don't understand is that when the time comes that people are not free to partake of their products, there will be no green. And that's the sad part. That's the thing that they fail to understand, as they seek to comply with, well, folks like tyrants like Russia and Putin, as well as Xi over there in China.
Well, remember, and we did all of this, those companies I just said, it would not destroy Russia. It would not shut them down. It would isolate them. It would make life a heck of a lot more difficult. It would make the citizens more willing to stand up and fight for their own freedoms, because you took freedoms away from them. But we know that countries exist like this. We know that, listen, North Korea exists, a little bit different geographically, being on a peninsula there, he can control them. But in Russia, you start to do this. Listen, that's what Reagan did in the 80s, right? And that's what brought them to their knees in 91 and 92. He choked them out. Yep.
By the way, it's kind of funny. So we talked about the porn industry getting into it. Well, now there's a Ukrainian brewery that has actually gotten rid of making beer and is now making Molotov cocktails. I mean, I don't know how huge a story this is, but to me, once again, this is just another example of, just like I said, of people coming together, standing up and fighting against the tyrants there in Russia. So anyway, I wanted to. That's the only reason quite frankly, I included that amongst our stories.
No, listen, I love it. First off, I want to find some of this Ukrainian brewery beer so I can support them. As I've had some Ukrainian beer before. It's just like any other Eastern European beer. It's beer. It's and listen, and if you understand the importance of the Molotov cocktail, it's a huge device. Every place that I've ever been and seen it used, it works rather well. And again, this is the tactical thing, right? This is what's going on in Russia right now. Allow the tanks to fall through, channelize them in, bring them down the streets, bring them down the buildings, right? The streets with the tall buildings. And then you get everybody on top of the building, dropping Molotov cocktails on them. I don't care if it is a T-72 tank. You start dropping enough fire on it from above, everything in the bustle racks and everything in the engine compartments is going to go on fire. That's just what happens. So you let them come in. You let them come in slowly with those armored vehicles. You don't fight them with AK-47s. You wait till you've got them channelized, or you've got them, you can put a nice little LA ambush on them, and you can take them out. That's how it works. That's how Vietnam worked. That's how Afghanistan worked. Listen, that's the tactics we saw in Iraq. Everywhere. It's in both times in Afghanistan, by the way. It works, and this is a peasant's weapon. The history of this, like, listen, Molotov cocktail's been around for probably close to 1,000 years, I bet. But it wasn't until the Russians invaded Finland in what was it, the Winter War back in 39 and 40, and I don't know if you don't know this story, Craig. I think it was the Russian ambassador at the time was named Molotov, but Vyacheslav Molotov, and the Russians had been bombing Finland. I mean, like bombs from airplanes, like kaboom. And when they were asked about it, the Finns said, "The Russians are bombing us." The Russians said, "No, they're humanitarian packages. They're full of food and supplies. They're humanitarian packages." Because what they were doing was trying to get the Finns to come out and accept these little bombs on parachutes, and thinking they were humanitarian supplies, and they weren't. So they were killing the Finns, with these with actual bombs instead of humanitarian packages. Well, that was Molotov who made the statement. So when they started using these, they called them Molotov cocktails. They were like, "Oh, if he's got humanitarian aid for us, we got humanitarian aid for him. Here you go. Have a nice Molotov cocktail, friend." So, little history on how it got that name.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that little history lesson. And I'll tell you, I think that it's not there's a saying that those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Well, I think that's exactly what we're seeing with China right now. China media, I don't know if you saw this, Mike, but they accidentally posted CCP rules on Ukrainian-Russian coverage. In other words, and in this coverage, by the way, they're hinting at and I don't know if this means this is what they're actually planning on doing, but they're almost hinting at a Taiwan takeover of Taiwan. In other words, folks, this is how we need to cover this. And this is, if we cover it like this, then that's exactly how we're going to be able to eventually promote when we're going to take over Taiwan. At least that's the take by some folks. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Listen, if you're a world leader and you decide, listen, we want that piece of land, and we know they've wanted Taiwan since '99, right? When the treaty went into effect, the British treaty, and Taiwan became its own country. Well, guess what? You're running China. It's not like you're a dummy. You might not be the smartest guy in the world, right? But if you can run a country of 1.3 billion people with a standing army of 2.5 million, I think you might be able to do math. 2 + 2. So you look around the world and you see, well, that guy Joe Biden, he's kind of an idiot, but I really don't want to mess with the United States. And now you see what's going on with Russia and the Ukraine and how Joe's response has been. Now you're China and you go, well, now might be the right time. This might be the right time to do this, because not only is he floundering with that nonsense, he's floundering badly and he's distracted. So why not go in here and take this and do it the same way? Roll the troops through without destroying the infrastructure or hurting the people, and just occupy and declare it's theirs. what's the United States going to do? What are they really going to do right now? What are we going to do right now if that happens?
Well, exactly, and that's the whole point. What people failed, I mean, first of all, there was just coming into this administration, I think there was a reasonable assumption that Biden was going to be weak on foreign policy, because as Gates once said, he's been wrong on every major foreign policy decision position he's ever taken. But so there was an understanding that he was going to be weak. But then you saw what happened in Afghanistan, and you recognized just how weak he was going to be.
Yep.
And then you go even further, and now you see the position that he put us in, where we were once energy independent. Now we're energy dependent again. And guess who we're largely energy dependent on? Russia. And by the way, we're also dependent heavily for a lot of things on China. And so now China is seeing the weak position that Biden has put us in. And they're now in a position where they're saying, look, we're going to see how this whole thing plays out with Taiwan, with Ukraine. And then we may want to consider how we're going to handle it when we go in after Taiwan. It's not, it is, I don't want to say it's inevitable, but when you show weakness, people go to take advantage of it. And that's just the way it is. And I know that there are a lot of people, even amongst conservatives, who are isolationists, who are like, why are we here? Why are we involved? Why are we engaged in this stuff? Here was the thing. If you let someone, and we said this before, if you let someone just walk up and punch one of your friends in the mouth and you do nothing, then they're going to punch another one of your friends in the mouth and you're not going to do anything. Eventually they're going to come to punch you in the mouth. Then what are you going to do?
Well, and remember, that was the President Trump's policy. Remember, he's like, listen, we're not going to stand all over the world and keep people from punching people in the mouth. But if you punch one of your friends in the mouth, we're going to come kill you.
Right.
We're going to destroy you, and then we're going to leave because we're not sticking around.
Right.
So, we'll be good back here. Do you want us to? Do you really want me to come to your house and kick your butt? Because that's what it was.
But Mike, also to our friends, it was, don't expect me to come over and punch him in the mouth if you aren't even going to put up a fight. If you're not even going to put yourself in a position to put up a fight.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And well, listen, I got to say, and again, I think the Ukraine Russian thing, depending on how you argue it, could be seen as internal, a civil war, or it could be seen as outright invasion of a foreign country. So I think that one is a little more difficult politically to understand and figure out how you're going to back that. The Taiwan Chinese issue, that's a flat out, we're invading an independent, independent free country. That's what that would be. But listen. We already know what the world's response is going to be. Let's say they get their troop carrier ships, right, and they load them up with their armored vehicles, pull into the port in Taiwan, and they just start unloading vehicle after vehicle after vehicle, and they just start parking them in the streets. They're not shooting at anybody. We're just here to occupy. We're here to take over. What's the rest of the world going to do? Well, you're trespassing, so we need you to leave. It's the tactics of it. It's it. I did hear also, Craig, that Pizza Hut's thinking about taking over all the Taco Bells. So they're getting into the swing of it too. They know how weak Joe Biden is. So they're thinking about taking over Taco Bells.
Well, there you go. Well, I think, one of the things I think, though, we need to consider, Mike, and this is as we're heading into our parting shot, is that, I don't believe that the Russian military is as strong as people portray them to be. And here's the reason why. Because while they may have a lot of tanks, they don't have diversity training. And because of their lack of diversity training, I just don't know that they are prepared to fully be effective in a military takeover of such a diverse nation as is Ukraine. I'm just saying.
Folks, this is a humorous slap at our military. During the Obama years, we got to the point where we had training to do for 100, it was like something like 150% of the time available. We had training that needed to be completed. We were never going to get it completed. Now, the training were things from like shoot, move, and communicate, right? Basic soldier skills, shoot, move, communicate. But we weren't allowed to do shoot, move, communicate because we had to do diversity training. We had to do sexual harassment training. We had to do the gay awareness training after Don't Ask, Don't Tell went away. We had to do all sorts of these ridiculous, everything came up all the time, trainings, and we never got to go shoot, move, communicate. And the joke here is, just like you saw, was that the Russians don't play with these diversity training nonsense. They
No.
just shoot, move, communicate. So
No, and maybe if they had, they would be more sensitive and be able to deal with the complexities. But in the end, I do believe that some of America's finest have actually are prepared to take the steps necessary to stop Russia. And you know what it's going to take, all right, Mike? It's something that
I know exactly what it's going to take, Craig. Celebrities.
Celebrities. That's right.
Celebrities.
The only way to stop Russia is now if enough celebrities record themselves from their mansions singing Imagine. Because we all know that selfie videos from celebrities solve the world's problems, right? Because
okay, now, yeah, hold that picture up there. All right.
All right.
Top right is that Winona Ryder?
I do believe so. Yes.
Okay. All right. Top center, is that the Zach guy from the Scrubs?
I do not know because I don't watch Scrubs.
Okay. Who's that top left? I don't know who that is.
I do not know. She looks familiar, but I can't tell you.
She looks like a girl that used to work for me at one of the gun stores, but I don't think that's her. I'm thinking. Listen, bottom right, that's either the Hulk or Mike Piazza, the baseball player. I don't know who that is.
Garoppolo.
The Hulk. Okay.
Garoppolo.
Bottom center, no clue. I got no clue. Who is that?
I have no idea.
All right, and bottom left is that's the drummer from
Sure that's not Will Ferrell.
No. I think that's the what is it from? Oh man, Flea's the lead singer. Flea's the guitarist.
It looks like Will Ferrell.
What's the name of the group that sings Under the Bridge?
I don't know because I don't know the song Under the Bridge.
Okay. All right. Well, he looks like the drummer from that band. And who, by the way, looks exactly like Will Ferrell.
Okay.
But what is it? Is Will Ferrell on the run? I mean, what's going on there? Will Ferrell looks like he's in a bunker in the Ukraine right there. He's just. Everybody else is like, imagine. And Will's like, help me. Red Hot Chili Peppers. He looks like the drummer from the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
He definitely looks like he is under attack. Yeah. All right, sir. Well, hey, it's about that time. So how about we give a quick shout out to our sponsors?
Let's say hello to our good friends there at the Gorilla Machining, the Grid Defense, and of course the California Republican Assembly. I talked to the guys from Gorilla Machining and Grid Defense and showed them all of our stuff there on Oplens now, and they're loving it. They love you guys, and they want you to love them back. So check out our good friends at Gorilla Machining and Grid Defense.
So yeah, and folks, do us a favor once again. Please share with your friends. Let them know where they can watch us. Dude, there's a ton of places you can watch us on. We're at 2A News. We're at the California Republican Assembly. We're at Arms Room Radio. You can also follow us on the Rundown on the Rundown on Facebook. We're on Rumble. We're on Opslands is huge. You guys got to make sure you check out Opslands. And if you just want to listen to us, you can find us wherever you get your podcast. You can find the Rundown. It's a Rundown replay, but you can find the Rundown replay on podcast wherever you get your podcast. So, folks, please make sure like, share, subscribe. Yeah. Encourage your friends to do the same. And
if you don't know the Oplens, and listen, I know you can watch it on your phone on Oplens, but if you got one of them smart TVs, you're watching Oplens on the big screen, baby. And that's what I showed. I showed a bunch of friends and sponsors, and I think the reason we saw that big jump in viewers, thank you, by the way, viewers, was because people are watching us on TV.
Yep, exactly. If you got Roku, Fire Stick, or a smart TV, you can download the Opslands app, or you can find us on a lot of those stations. Check us out. Please make sure, check out Opslands. By the way, we got a bunch of our friends, a bunch of our 2A friends are there on Opslands as well, so check them out. With that, we bid you a fond adieu.